Bienvenido! This is the e-wrestling broadcast service. I'm your host, El Gringo Loco, and we're back for part 2 of our series on writing matches. I'm not sure exactly how long this is going to go on. Writing matches is kind of a lengthy topic, so we could end up seeing another 2 or 3, including stuff like gimmick matches and whatever. We've got a bigger panel with us today. We've got, once again, Adrien Cochran is with us. Say hello, Adrien.
Hello, Adrien.
And we're also being joined today by Pedro, the famous Fed head of GPW and UKWF.
Infamous.
Infamous among a cavalcade of popular characters, or at least characters that I've enjoyed over the years.
Popular? Stop telling lies on me.
Well, I've enjoyed your characters.
But
Thanks for joining us today, Pedro. We also have...
Intro. You ruined my intro now because you made me have to correct you. Because I was going to say, how are you? How was the rest? We made it through, but nevertheless... But now it doesn't make any sense anymore because I've already spoken. So thanks, Ernie.
Thanks for the yellow card reference.
We also have Adam Garvey joining us today. You may know him as probably his most famous character, Diamond Jack Sabbath, also Pirate Emery Layton, and...
Wait, they're the same person?
Pirate Emery Layton.
Sorry, what was that, Pedro?
They're the same person? Mind blown.
Yeah, there's
absolutely. I am everyone.
That's what I said last time.
Are you feuding with yourself?
No.
And he has more characters too, don't you, Adam?
Oh my God! Do you want me to run through the list? All right. So.
No, we don't have time for all that. That'll be the rest of the show.
Yeah, we'd have to split it halfway through, right?
Hey, Ernie,
listing Adam's character show.
Since we're at it, why don't we go through my list of characters?
That's another show for another time.
And waste another hour going through my list of characters.
Exactly, but yeah. So, and Adam also, I believe, has had a hand at different points in time of running XWA, which is I'm gonna be honest. It's like the only match writing fed that I know of in existence today.
Because it's the only pure match writing fed left, I think, as far as I'm aware. Unless there's another one hidden out there that doesn't go on Twitter and doesn't have any of the social media stuff, which, if they have, they've found the secret of maintaining a happy e-fed community.
Yes.
But we're basically the last one left. I think there's a term-based match writing fed out there called PRW, who we've been affiliated with for God knows how long now.
Turn-based, really?
Yes.
2 XWFs?
XWAs?
Yeah, yes, I know.
There were. And then one of them died. And we are now the one supreme XWA.
There's XWA Battle Zone, which is the one that Adam's with, and then there was, what was the other one? XWA Adrenaline or something like that?
XWA Universe.
Universe?
Yes.
And that was totally an accident, right? That was totally just a random name.
Yeah.
So everyone is probably wondering the voice that we're hearing right now. We do also have on the line Mike Leifer, who handles Kinsey Rydell, Cass Bomer, and Coda.
Who needs to get into my fed? Because I've been asking him to get Kenzie in my fed for ages and he doesn't.
I've been asking him to get in feds that I'm in for ages and he doesn't too, so...
I don't have a lot of time.
We also have Heather on the line. She handles Heather Lasowich, Nee Halliwell, Betsy Granger. Heather, I'm sure there's a lot of other characters you handle that I can't quite think of off the top of my head.
Nope, I'm down to the 2. I've restrained myself considerably.
That's good, because it seems like everyone from our old circle usually has like 10,000 characters these days. We also have Josh Kennedy.
Wait. What? Let me do this one.
Okay.
And last but certainly not least, we have Callum Barnum.
You messed it up.
So let me get this straight. You wanted to do the introduction, and you're going to screw it up.
We have Callum Barnum Bailey.
Fail.
from the famous Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Yeah, totally.
And he's got some questions for us today about ready matches, or he will have some at some point, at least during the show. Have you prepared any? Did you get a chance to prepare any questions for today, Callum?
No, I'm afraid I haven't.
We're just gonna wing it for about an hour.
We'll
I mean,
talk,
that's
and
what
if
it
you
did
have
last
any
time. It
questions, you
worked.
can just.
He's a feather. He sandbags. Of course he does. He doesn't want to get sniped with a direct response promo and lose.
Okay, so really quickly, for the people that are just joining us this week, for our guests just joining us this week, I think we should start out by giving you guys a chance. We'll go through in order from left to right as they appear on the, on the little call screen up there.
The bubbles.
The bubbles or whatever. Yeah, whatever.
I'm gonna laugh.
I see them as
different than
boxes,
mine.
but whatever. We'll go from left to right. So we'll go with Adam, and then Heather, and then Pedro. And you guys can, if there's anything from last week's episode that you want to comment on, anything that you feel that we missed, then we'll let you have a chance to start out, and then we'll just kind of go from there. Sound good?
Sure.
Producer approves.
It does
Okay.
not sound good. It sounds great.
All right, thanks for that. So, Adam, I know that you had some things that you were like typing on Twitter, which is unfortunately like only 140 characters, and so I think you had maybe about 100 tweets on the subject. So we'll let you.
It was 6,238 tweets, actually.
I think you missed your spot.
I had lots to say. To be honest with you, when I sent all the tweets last week, I'd listened to like half of it. I'd listened to half the podcast, and I was like, I just want to kind of chime in with a couple of things. You guys
Suck?
touched on a lot of the stuff that... Sorry, were you going to say something there?
No, I said you guys, and then I said suck.
Well, that too. But there was a lot of stuff that I just wanted to sort of add on to it, really, which hopefully I'll get into
It's your
tonight.
time to do that.
Which obviously this is the week to do that, I guess. But a lot of the stuff that you touched on last week, I agreed with, and I just kind of wanted to chime in and say, a couple of things about it. But hopefully I'll get to those this week. Last week you guys did a great job of it. I think that we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, I think, but match writing is, because it's so long-winded, I kind of feel like it's something that people don't really like touching. And it's something that people, especially in, and I should probably say I'm in an angle fed before I say this, so, don't take this as me.
Which one?
I am in Your House Wrestling Federation,
Never?
which is very, very good.
I believe that's the one that takes place in Australia, right?
It is, yes.
Yeah, I
And
know a few handlers from there. I don't actually really follow the Fed myself, but I am aware of it.
Yeah,
Is it the one with Owen, where Owen and Tyrone wrestle, and Jerry Killane and all those people?
Yeah, it's got like Kelsey Spencer in it, I believe.
Kelsey Spencer, because that's Tyrone. That's my
yes.
buddy. And Owen Gonsalves, which is also my buddy.
Mm-hmm. And
and
you've also got
and Shell, who isn't.
yes, and
Continue, Adam.
yeah. So, and you might have another character of mine appearing there very shortly, a teaser. But anyway, so yeah, I feel like in a lot of match writing feds, people kind of, in angle feds, I should say, people kind of avoid it. And we said earlier, people like to, especially in like roleplay feds, angle feds, they like to kind of write almost summarized match summarize matches that are like,
Yeah.
I don't know, 150 words, 200 words, something like that. And
TWC, my
there's
feedback.
never a story to it. So hopefully, being someone who's been in a match writing fed since the dawn of time, hopefully I can give a couple more pointers this week as someone who's got a little bit of experience with it.
See, that's an interesting thing that you bring up there, Adam, about that you said that like a lot of times angle feds will write matches that are only 150 words long and that seem summarized, because the traditional ones that I came up on, like ACW, you used to see stuff like a 10 to 15,000 word mid-card match. Sounded like somebody dropped off.
Well, we lost Heather.
And her turn was going to be next.
Go ahead and go with Pedro. Maybe we'll get Heather back.
Hey, can I have something to say about this?
Okay, yeah, Lifer.
FAW switched from long-standing matches to summary matches, and it sort of goes with what you're saying, Adam. I guess it has something to do with how much time the person has. I guess it has something to do with the fact that no one's really volunteering to write the matches themselves. So you're kind of up to speak without a panel.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. FAW specifically, I don't really think any of the handlers are really helping out with the match writing there. Not to say that the handlers there are bad, but I believe that they kind of switched to summary because I believe like it's mostly like Reg and Carly kind of writing all those matches. So, I mean, whenever it's one or two people writing the entire show, I mean, I can kind of excuse them for doing more summarized results.
Yeah. Well, and two, I think you can still, depending on how you do it, you should be able to still build a story with even a summarized results if you do it right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my fed, I was laughably calling my results summarized until people said, no, they're not, because they're 1,500 words long.
Yeah, that doesn't sound summarized to me at all.
No.
I was basing it on the fact that there was no commentary, therefore it is a summary, but apparently not.
Oh, that's just a synopsis then. That's not really... That's just a synopsis of a match.
I wouldn't even necessarily call it a synopsis, because you can still... I mean, you can still write it out without the commentary.
It can still be a blow-by-blow match, If it's blow-by-blow, it ain't a synopsis.
A short story. It's just more like that short story format or novel format.
It's just paragraphs.
It's the thing. Yeah, you can tell everything that happens. Like Adrien said, you can still do the blow-by-blow.
Okay, I guess we'll go ahead and let Pedro go ahead and have his turn, and hopefully we'll have Heather back on before he finishes.
I have nothing to say because I didn't listen to the show because I've been busy moving.
Well, that's good, because at one part of the show, they're like, oh yeah, Pedro, and I'm like, who the hell is Pedro?
Not moving yet, but looking for a flat to move to. So that's been taking up a lot of my time. And also a long commute to the new job, which is why I need to move. So
I will say this. If you have a long commute, then a long commute is perfect for sitting down and listening to a nice podcast.
Yeah.
I'm reading books. I read books. I'm reading Foley is Good right now.
Reading books, nerd.
I am.
Yeah, because none of us in here are nerds, right?
Oh yeah,
right.
We're collectively.
No, I'm the coolest.
We pretend to be wrestlers. We're totally cool.
And who reads anything in e-fetting, right?
Right.
You're getting into the new character, aren't you?
Well, you say that, but
we need to get back on track.
So,
I feel like as a Fed head, Pedro, you should have something to say about match writing, right? Like
I do have things to say about match writing, but not about last week's show because I didn't listen to it.
Then ask a question about match writing.
Yeah, let's start out with what comments do you have to start out here about match writing? And
about match writing, my main comment about match writing that I tell everyone who wants to match write or who does match write is sell the fucking emotions.
Yes.
We
Yes.
covered that.
Because my pet peeve, even more so than 4-line results, which are a big pet peeve of mine, is results that are not 4 lines long, but they're like move, pin. Oh my god, move on. And don't sell the pin at all. Don't sell the near fall. Don't sell the kick out at 3.5. No, do those things. Let it rest. Like a big move needs a rest after. Like in real wrestling, whenever, I don't know, Randy Orton hits, not an RKO is not a good example, but like somebody hits like, I don't know, their semi-finisher and gets a 2.75. You don't see them get right up and to their feet unless they're Hawk from the Road Warriors.
That's
You
true.
can see them rolling around on the floor selling that they almost won and they were too tired to capitalize or whatever the fuck. So
Or they
why
argue with the referee, or
why doesn't defending do that? Like, why do we have to keep going to the next move? It's like it becomes a spot fest, and as much as I bark for flippy guys, there needs to be the story too.
well, to be fair, there are a lot of feds actually that do this.
Like
But-
mine.
Yeah, but there are a lot of feds also who don't. So it just kind of depends, what you're looking at, what you're reading, and how people are handling things. And on that same topic, of like you said, having them roll around, or they're like tired or exasperated, or they're frustrated, because it might not even necessarily be that they're exhausted by it. Maybe they're just like, oh man, what am I going to need to do here? What's the next move? And so they're taking some time to think. Maybe it's that they're going to argue with the referee because they think that they had it. I mean, there's different. Yeah, there's different stuff that you can do. To throw that out there for people who are writing these matches, that there's a bunch of that. These are some of the different things that you can do. But there are some feds, to be fair, who actually do this stuff on a regular basis.
Yeah, I believe that a really good match should have you just on the edge of your seat just as much as a real wrestling match. So
Exactly.
Like, if you're on the edge of your seat for like Rock Austin from 1998, then that should be your reaction to a really good E-Fed match too.
Exactly.
It's like, oh my god, these guys are gonna win.
Callum,
And
Callum.
it's a really difficult thing to do too, writing matches, because you really have to try really hard to engage the readers, because a lot of E-Fedders, a lot of handlers will just skip down to the end of the match.
Yeah,
to see
they
who
want to see
won.
who wins.
Yeah, and so you really have to throw some stuff in here every once in a while in the middle, story plot points and different things, and just keep them engaged with the matches, so that and it's a difficult task to do.
In fact,
They'll read it top to bottom.
two of the main compliments that I got, two of my favorite compliments were, one time I was gonna write a match between two characters that I really, really like. And I did, and it was like 15 minutes long.
Hey guys,
And I said,
Mike wants to go ahead and add something. Mike wants to add something real quick.
yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Callum, last week, I don't remember if it was on the podcast or not, but you mentioned how do you change things up? How do you find the right pacing?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is how. After big moves, you like Ernie and Pedro said, you have them take breaks. You slow it down for a little bit. It's not like go go go. It's like there's some spacing in between. I kind of think it's really good advice for all match writers.
Yeah. Well, there's a time to sprint, and there's a time to settle down and slow things down.
Yeah,
And
The best
you
matches, the best
Yeah.
matches are all about escalation. To be honest with you, however, whenever I've sort of the best matches that I've read and best matches that I've sort of written have all been kind of matches that would start off really, really small. So we'll start off with maybe a little bit of chain wrestling. I'm an absolute bastard for chain wrestling. You read my matches.
That's an aspect I need to improve on.
I want to do a match that's just full chain wrestling, full on.
Boring.
I'll get there. I will get there.
You should have seen.
A Fenric match. It'll be there.
You should have seen this handler in ACW named Tony. From what I've heard, he would do like there'd be like 10 pages of chain wrestling,
Yes.
10 pages of like headlocks and arm bars, and just like it would be like a really great technical wrestling clinic, and it would be like 20 pages long.
I feel like that's something that would be better to
I like
watch
that
than
kind of
to
stuff.
read, if that makes any sense.
As long as you make it exciting, it doesn't matter what you do. I
Yeah.
could write, if I write 20 pages of, let's say you've got, let me think of, right, so I've got a character, Adam Fenrick, and he's a technical wrestler, and he's also a very difficult person. And so I put him up against, I don't know, let's think of someone from...
Emery Layton.
Put him up against that. Oh no, Emery Layton would run the fuck away from him, and like I've already written that match. Actually, she would just mock him continuously throughout the match. No. So if I put her up against Laurel Ann Hardy, there we go, Laurel Ann Hardy.
Yeah, Laurel Ann
Yeah,
Hardy.
we're familiar with
Yeah.
Stig. We are very
Just
familiar with Stig.
Just beating Stig. I just beat Stig with
Buffalo
like
Stig.
Emery Layton. Best match I've written all year. It's great. But so I put Adam Fenrick up against Emery Layton, and I have the match be 20 pages of just continuous technical wrestling. Doesn't matter what the actual moves are. I could have a Laurel trying to get out of a headlock for about 4 or 5 paragraphs. As long as I make those 5 paragraphs the most captivating 5 paragraphs you have ever read in your life, then it doesn't matter. As long as, like, there's this this idea. I said this to someone who was asking me about match writing in XWA a couple of months ago, because they were new and because they hadn't done it before. And I sat there and they said, how do I construct a match and make it exciting? And I just basically said to them, put yourself in the shoes of someone who is reading it. So you're there, you're reading your match. You've got Adam Fenrick versus Laurel Ann Hardy. It's a big match. It's been built up. There have been multiple promos. Adam Fenrick said something about Laurel Ann Hardy's stupid glitter and dancing and all the shit that she does. Laurel said something about him being a massive idiot or something. So it's all built up. That's not enough. What I need to do is I need to make sure, I might keep sworn, what I need to do is make sure that, because you're on the internet at the end of the day. You're on the internet, you've got multiple different tabs. The internet is endless, right? I need to make sure that you do not click anything else. I've started off that headlock spot at paragraph 1. I end that headlock spot at paragraph 5. I don't want you to know I'm ending that at paragraph 5. I need you to sit there and I need you to continuously read the whole thing. There is absolutely, I need to make it the most captivating thing I can, and sell it like death. Sell it like if Laurel Ann Hardy does not get out of this, she will physically die and explode and spontaneously. It doesn't matter as long as I make it the most exciting thing currently at that point. You have to stop. The best thing about writing matches is you have to make sure that you have to keep that person who is reading that match from clicking another tab and from going somewhere else and going, this match is nothing. As long as I make it a dramatic headlock, it doesn't matter. And that's the thing that I touched on Twitter as well. The moves don't matter. It's the emotion behind them.
That touches on what I was going to say about a match I wrote one time between 2 of my favorite characters. So I was like, and they had really good promos. So I was like, I'm going to give them my all. I'm going to write a match that I write once every 2 years. And somebody who was reading the match who was not involved in it, like one of the other feathers in the Fed, had a comment saying when he said he was going all out, he was not kidding, because I asked permission from each of them to use a false finish, to have a kick out of one of their finishers. Which, again, another thing is don't do that without asking the handlers first, because that varies the moves. But anyway, I had somebody reach the ropes from a reverse figure four, which was one of the guy's finishers. And when that spot happened, the guy who was like with his heart in his hands thinking who was going to win, in a match that he wasn't in, said, when you said you were going all out, you were not kidding. And that was like probably the best piece of feedback I ever got. Until a couple of weeks ago, when I was ranting about somebody writing one of my characters to lose in one move, and I'm not joking, it was one move. And somebody in my Fed said, that's why I like your Fed. I know I'm in good hands with you, which gave me the warm fuzzies as well. Because that's painful.
So I've got a question from Pedro. Pedro, you've actually had a match of yours written by me before I actually met you. I wanted to go ahead and see if you can go ahead and maybe break down what you thought of that. Not necessarily the result, because you kind of already privately told me about that. But go ahead and tell me what you thought about that match, and see, this is something that was done right. This is something that was done wrong.
Something that was done right was that you put all three guys over. And everybody got their shit in, which I appreciated. Being the handler of the untrained 16-year-old character, I appreciated that she got the diving crossbow again. And that being a face versus face match, it was actually three faces. It wasn't, nobody defaulted the heel, which is a pitfall that a lot of people, including myself, sometimes fall into, that every match needs a heel. No, it doesn't. It can just be three guys competing, and I like that. What was wrong? I couldn't see anything that was done wrong, since the length was pretty good. Everyone was protected. I probably would not have had the debuting character get the pin when there's Izzy right there to get the pin, but that's about my only criticism. Was that if you want to protect one of the people, do not protect the untrained teenager. Protect the other one.
Well, I mean, I was actually, whenever I was given the match, I was told who gets pinned. So, I mean, that was something I couldn't avoid.
Right. So, from things you could control, I didn't see anything majorly wrong with it. Maybe just a little bit of speed, of too much speed, but it makes sense because it's three baby faces in a nothing match. So you don't really need to sell anything as being a big move. So, no, good job.
All right, this is going to be a less serious question. This is for Pedro and for Adam, and I guess I'll let Pedro answer it first. What do y'all think about the concept of an entire page dedicated to a drop kick?
I'll give you 2. 2 pages.
I don't doubt that.
A whole page dedicated to a drop kick is like an Amazon review for an ironing board that is more than like 2 sentences long. It's an ironing.
Are you familiar with my character, Pedro?
What?
Are you familiar with my character?
I have never read anything because I've never happened to read anything.
Okay, my character is the Dropkick King. His real name is my name. I've contemplated doing a full page dropkick a few times in one of his matches. I was just wanted to get your take on. Do it.
I find it funny, and it's got nothing to do with matchwriting, but it also does. That I've been asking for people to job Izzy out in 10 seconds, and nobody will do it. And then when my serious character participates in a tournament, he jobs in 10 seconds.
That sucks. I tell you what, if I'm ever given an Izzy Rocks match again, and she's supposed to lose, I'll go ahead and do that for you.
Yeah, because now it's too late, because now she's bled in her first ever match.
Oh yeah, that first match, that was crazy.
Can I get a link to that?
Yeah.
I love seeing people bleed. So yeah, I love blood in matches.
We were talking about that the other day, weren't we, Ernie? While I was
yeah, we were talking about that the other day. Me and Callum had a little bit of a Skype call, but really quickly, I want to kind of circle around back to Adam's thing about escalation. And most of the matches that I write will start out the same way, but it's about the characters involved, and it's about the story that you're telling. Oh, yeah. So I mean, there's a point in a feud where two people have, I mean, not every feud, but in some feuds, there's a point where two people hate each other enough that as soon as they get in, they're going to start throwing the fists. Some characters will do things like a pre-match attack, and stuff like that. Actually, like Max Hopper, in 3 of his last 4 matches, if you count the XWA one, which hasn't, the voting hasn't ended yet, but my opponent wrote one where he did a pre-match attack, and I read the version that he wrote because it's a match writing fed, it's a match writing tournament. So I read the version that he wrote, and I really enjoyed it. But there's a time for doing these different things where you have like a quicker start to the match.
Yeah.
Depending on the characters, the story, I don't know if I would want to say situation, but the stakes, I guess, the stakes involved.
Oh, you can say situation, absolutely.
Okay.
You see, the thing of it is, if you've got speedy characters such as, let's say it was Izzy Rocks versus Adrien, I mean, they're 2 speed-based characters. You can't really do a bit of a slow start with characters like that. They're probably going to start hard and fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Izzy knows that if she doesn't get her shit in, she's not going to.
Well, on the last MBW Slam I had, Max Hopper was in a table match with the guy that he's feuding with, and that guy is in a stable with 3 of his family members, 2 brothers and a cousin. And
I'm sorry, is this the Callahans?
They had been group attacking Max Hopper all throughout the story arc. So when Max Hopper came in, he started out with suicide dives to all of this guy's family members outside the ring, because he's in this situation where he's probably kind of afraid of, actually you could see during his entrance he was afraid to get in the ring when all 4 of them were standing in there. So he's gonna want to try to do what he can to neutralize them. So he started out with 3 suicide dives to everybody else, and then you get settled into what your match is.
But not every match has to start off that quickly.
No.
Even if both of you are high flyers, I feel like sometimes you want to escalate, like Adam said.
Yeah. Normally you do. Probably about like 90% of your matches.
Well,
maybe not 90. Maybe
even
like
if you
80,
start off
80
fast,
to 90% of your matches that you write are probably going to end up being like that. But it's the point that I want to make is just that it's going to depend on stuff like story and characters involved. So
even with a fast start, though, you can still have things get even faster. You can still you don't have to start slow just to escalate.
No, get in there with some arm drags and drop kicks, and
that's exactly it.
Stuff like that. Of course, you can't let Adrien do a drop kick too early.
No. Sometimes it is the first move. Sometimes it's the middle move. Sometimes it's towards the end. I mean, sometimes there's more than one.
Well, there you go. Put up Adrien versus Izzy, and there's your 10-second match. He hits the drop kick, and it's over.
Hey, there you go. That's what they want.
We did establish there's a 1 drop kick minimum, but that does not mean you can only have 1. Like, I think the last match I wrote with Adrien, he actually got in 3, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, going back to a point that was just made where you can have, even with the context, you can still have escalation in a match. Why does my mic keep falling, for God's sake? So, just sort of drawing on, my experience, and you know what, I'll draw from 2 matches that I did this year, 2 pretty big matches I did this year where, completely different contexts. You've got Diamond Jack Sabbath versus Smith Jones. And that was a 2 out of 3 falls match. Now, that was a match that was 2 years in the making. Smith Jones had gone off and done other stuff. He left the Fed, he came back. First match back was, a brilliant match. And he eventually was like, okay, I want Sabbath, because he was the last person to beat me before I came back. And so you have 2 months of Sabbath and Jones kind of like, going back and forth with promos and stuff. And by the time the match gets there, it's like a strap match because it was a 2 out of 3 falls match, or I guess 3 stages of hell. Really thinking about it, because they were all different. And
Yeah, I'd call it a 3 stages of hell.
within the first, like,
I feel like I read that match actually.
have you?
Yeah, so did I actually. That's one of the only XWA matches I've read today.
Nice.
That was that on the last? I think it was a Super Show or something that's up there.
Yes, that was on.
Yep, I read that.
If You Want Blood in Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah, I read that because I wanted to take a look at the formatting and stuff like that when I was writing my match. So I clicked on that show and it brought me up like right around there. So I scrolled back and I just like read through the match. It was a good match.
Yeah, and because you've read that, you'll know it starts off with them basically, Saba's basically mocking him to start off with. They put on the strap, they check the strap and everything. They put on Smith's side as soon as it goes around Smith's wrist. Jack's already got his on, so he just pulls him immediately, and he's like, "Come on, you piece of shit!" Like, he just pulls him. Smith pulls back. They both get into it before the bell has even rung. They're split up again. Jack goes back to his corner, and then he's just like, as soon as the ref turns away, he just runs back, and the ref's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake! All right, fine," and he just starts the match with them both rolling around on the floor, battering 10 different types of shit out of each other, and from there it just gets bigger and bigger. So you can have matches like that where they kind of escalate from that point on. By the end of the match, neither Smith nor Jack can physically stand, despite them being in a last man standing match for the last one. Neither of them can stand properly. So
That's actually...
literally, the ref goes 10, and immediately after, Jack's like, he just drops to the floor. So it escalated to the point that neither of them could stand.
I love the idea of having a 3 stages of hell where the last one's a last man standing match, because they've been through so much hell in the first 2 falls. It's like, that's a really awesome idea.
Oh, yeah.
It makes perfect sense, yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the thing.
Sure.
I mentioned this on Twitter as well, where I was like, use foreshadowing, use references, use backstory. I said the match was 2 years in the making. It's the 3rd version, or the 3rd Smith-Jones Diamond Jack Sabbath match. The last match was a last man standing match. So 2 years later, we're going to get into the last man standing thing.
Yeah, and then you end it in the last man standing. That's good, see?
This time, we are both fucked up. So
because the storyline kind of, well, I don't know if I'd say it comes full circle because it doesn't go back to the beginning, but you come back to an earlier point in the story. And that's good. We should do one. We should do a show too, or a series about building storylines. And so I think that's something that we need to save that point for building storylines. But the match comes back around to reference something earlier. And but before I get into another point about referencing earlier details in the match, earlier stuff that happened in the match, I want to continue on with the kind of like tweak the discussion here on escalation a little bit with there was something else that Pedro said earlier.
You want to escalate the conversation about escalation?
Yeah, exactly. But while we're talking about eschatologies here, in terms of having the slow start, also you can get points in the middle. Oh yeah, Pedro's talking about rests and stuff. You can get points throughout the match where a lot of people will say back to square one, where you kind of get right back around to almost like a re-escalation of things. Stuff gets evened out and you get into a re-escalation, a rebuilding process.
So like,
yeah.
I know what you
Yeah,
mean.
I think that's right.
Yeah. Well, Adam knows what I mean, and the fact that he had to say "I know what you mean" I think makes it sound that, to me, indicates that maybe I wasn't a little bit clear. So, Adam, do you want to expand on that? Or Pedro?
Yeah. So, let's say you're having a match that's kind of started off really slow, and then it's got faster and faster and faster, and then eventually at some point you reach a point where you've got where a big spot's just happened, and fans are going crazy. Maybe there's a "This is awesome" chant if you like that. I don't know.
I love
and
those
they're both
chants.
there lying on the floor. And then eventually, because they're both there lying on the floor, maybe they both get back up after a 10 count. That's when you kind of have to go back to square one on it. But that's basically what there'll be times where a match gets so big and things happening within the match get so big that you kind of have to create a little bit of a you have to start from scratch really on it.
There's
a
another
little
thing
bit.
as well. There's another thing as well, which is, for example, if it's a no DQ match and somebody just hit you with the steps, do not do a pile driver on them 30 seconds later, because you can't, because you just got steps to the head.
Oh, you're talking about the person who just took the move?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you do have to
yeah.
sell the violence that your characters are taking, and that's something we kind of touched upon on the first episode, is the fact that you actually have to sell a lot of the things that actually does happen in the middle of the match, because if you just get hit with, a chair 6 times, you're not exactly going to spring up like Shawn Michaels and all of a sudden just start tearing everyone apart. You actually, if you are going to do such a thing, it should be one of those things where it's like a move out of desperation, slowly crawl back up to your feet type of thing.
Yeah.
Or in a tag match, you do the hot tag then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you say the hawk what?
The hot tag.
Hot tag.
Yeah, it's another one of those
hot tag.
tropes we were talking about last episode.
Because you mentioned Road Warrior Hawk earlier. I thought you said Hawk.
No.
Every match he had with Animal was a hawk tag match.
The crawling to the corner and suddenly, oh yes, he finally tagged in his partner after he's been isolated for so long type of deal.
The hot tag, yeah. And you got to build that up properly too, the hot tag, by having them cut off the other team, cut off the ring and stuff like that. A lot of stuff is about how you build it up.
Mike can actually appreciate that, because I actually just did that in a match of ours that I just wrote, where his character Coda and his partner Kayla Richards was actually doing that to Adrien.
Did you?
Yeah, they were keeping Adrien away from his corner.
Yeah, I've got a huge problem on my hands, and I mean huge in more ways than one, because at my upcoming show there's a match featuring a team of 2 undersized underdog baby faces against an unstoppable monster and somebody else. And I'm like, if the baby faces win, how do I not make the monster look stupid?
You're gonna have to go with speed and teamwork to make that work. I mean, that's the only way you can really do it.
They want to write. One of the guys wants to write it, and I'm leaving it in his hands. And I'm like, I know he's not going to put himself over. He's one of the babyface team, and I'm letting him write that, so he'll figure it out. Not me.
Well, they're a babyface team, and they're underpowered. That's perfect. That's a perfect way. I would, because obviously, that'd be a very, very kind of overcoming the odds kind of match. It's not. You're not going to make the big guy look stupid by the smaller, underpowered, because they're underdogs at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
That match would just be kind of, if I was writing that match, it would just be kind of like, oh God, oh no, there's this big guy on this other team, and there's the other guy, but the big guy is the big, the wild card in this match. We have to kind of stay away from him. And eventually it gets to that point where, the big guy's in there. So they're like, oh no, he's here. Right, great. We have to keep pressing on with this. And that's, I don't find it I wouldn't find that a massive problem, really, right? It would just be a case of, the big
And
guys,
there's
the
also-
odds.
And there's also my other self-imposed problem, which is a world title, UK title match, which is my top belt. UK title match with a heel special referee favoring the heel. What happens if the heel loses?
That's the problem. If it was
Well,
Build an
I've-
angle out of that.
I've
Yeah.
actually got a way. I got to figure. I got a sort of solution. I can't talk today. A solution for that. This is what you could have happen, and I don't know. Maybe I should privately tell you this just in case you decide to go this route, and it doesn't give away what you're gonna do. But I was gonna say what you could have is the heel referee attempts to start attacking the face competitor that's competing in the match, and then all of a sudden the face does something that takes the heel special referee out of the match, and a regular referee has to actually run down and actually do the rest of the match.
Yeah, I have an idea for that actually, but yeah, that's also that's kind of what I would probably go for if the face wins. Kind of because there's the twist that I tend to reveal because it's a major spoiler for the show,
Yeah, don't
Or-
spoil anything. Don't spoil anything.
or
Yeah.
it could be a major spoiler for the show if I decide to go that way.
Yeah, don't. I might read it.
Hmm.
And I'll be like, oh no, I know this was going to happen.
Oh
But yeah, but the heel special ref happens to be a lady who runs the company, so she's not going to start attacking people at random.
Oh,
But she
okay.
can still get knocked out.
I didn't have that context, Pedro. So you gotta
I know.
forgive me.
I forgot to
Well,
say that.
She can.
I forgot to
She
say
can
that, but
still
yeah.
interject herself though in different ways, like slow count whenever the face makes a pin, quick counts whenever turning a blind eye towards stuff that the heel might do that's a little unruly.
I think we've
I
gotten.
think
I think
if
we're
I'm going
starting to
all
kind of
out
get a
with it,
little too
I'm
much
like-
into the specialty matches, a bit more than we intended to, because of the fact that we've talked about 3 stages of hell, last man standing. We've talked about special guest referees. Are we going to start really getting into specialty matches now?
Well, I think that these were mostly brought up to relate to points on other subjects, but I don't know. Do you guys feel like there's really anything else to go over for the basics of match writing before?
Can I go over commentary?
Go for it. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah.
That's a good topic
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
we only slightly touched upon that last time, so that'll be a good point.
Yeah. So, for me,
It's the
commentary is something that people kind of don't use properly, in my experience. So, like, a lot of people will just kind of, use it as jokes. To be honest with you, like, you'll have the normal guy, like, you'll have the play-by-play who'll go, like, so let's say I've just written my last line of my last paragraph is, and then Jack hits a kick. You'll usually have the play-by-play guy go, wow, that was a great kick. And then the heel color commentator will go, shut up, play-by-play, that was terrible, or something like that. And, or make a joke, or be like, just some bollocks about, being kicked in the head. I don't know. But maybe saying something like, oh, he kicked me harder than my ex-wife used to kick me, or something bollocks like that. People like to do things like that.
Yeah.
That's actually,
It's like, okay, great. You've told me nothing about that. And then they'll go to the next paragraph and they'll tell me what else is going on with the match. And I'm like, all right, you've told me. You may as well have just gone straight to the next paragraph. The thing for me about commentary is it should dictate the narrative of the match, and it should dictate how your reader is supposed to feel. So, like, let's say, all right, Jack and Smith Jones are in the ring again, and the referee's got his back turned, and then Jack gives Smith a low blow, and then the play-by-play should be like, he gave him a low blow. I cannot believe he did that. That is the worst thing in the world. That I've never seen. Do you know what? There have been, like, what Judas did is not as bad as what he has just done, giving him a low blow. Like, a special place in hell will be created for him because he gave him the low blow. Maybe I'm exaggerating. I don't know.
I think
just a tad bit.
Adam's
Just a
missing
tad
out
bit.
his true calling, which is being a play-by-play guy.
Yeah.
Get Adam an
But then,
audition
that's
for-
the thing. But then, the heel commentator, rather than going, our guy's called Mark Sanchin, rather than going, shut up, Mark, you don't know shit, instead of saying that, it should be, well, he's, like, he should explain it in a heelish way. He should sit there and say, well, I mean, Smith Jones was stupid. He left himself open for it. You should always, the ref has his back closed all the time. Like, he has his back to him all the time. He can't be looking all the time. It's Smith Jones' fault for not seeing that Jack could possibly do that. And you should be outraged. You should sit there and you should read what the colour commentator has said and go, no, you piece of shit. That's not what happened at all. That's what commentary is. It dictates exactly how you should be, and it should tell you something. Realistically, it should tell you something about the match that the rest of what you've already said hasn't told you.
Adam, I'm just gonna say this real quick.
Yeah.
Illegal is a sick bird. To quote the great Bobby Heenan, illegal is a sick bird. Or Jesse Ventura, it ain't cheating if you don't get caught. But
Exactly.
yeah, I agree that I think, in my opinion, I think commentary should be there to help get the story over, help get the characters over, and help highlight stuff that's going on in the match.
But
So
another
this,
thing-
to me, okay, go ahead, Pedro.
just want to add quickly that also another thing that I do, at least with my commentary, is so my Fed GPW had a taller commentator who moved on to my second Fed, so she's commentated on both. And she's kind of like a female version of Bobby Heenan. And therefore, I do
Yeah,
that.
Bobby Heenan.
You know how Bobby Heenan hated Hulk Hogan no matter the alignment that he had?
Yeah.
My character hates Gaia Galanos no matter the alignment. So Gaia's a heel now, but Kerry still hates her because it's Gaia. So I feel like that's also a thing that's like a little makes them more like people. You know what I mean? Like,
And you'll see you'll actually see heels that actually have these faces that no matter what, even though they're a face, they still actually will be like completely not against that face. Like I've seen a few Feds do that as well. Like there's a special face that they have like some sort of connection with that they won't completely be a stupid heel commentator towards them.
that's what happened with me last week when Jackie Monroe competed in a face versus face match in OCW, and the heel taller guy started off against her, and then as she kicked the other guy's ass, he was like, "Whoa, she can kick ass for real." I like that.
That's actually pretty cool. I think that's actually a really good story development.
Yeah.
But that's
I
also
agree.
because Jackie was the default heel because she swears and she has an attitude. So she became the default heel because the other guy is an Evan Bourne pig based.
And
So-
like you said earlier, not every match has to have a default heel, though. Just FYI.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes
So-
there is a clear face and a clear heel. I mean, like 90% of the time, if there's like a main event or something like that, it's usually like this baby face and this heel, and it's kind of clear which is which.
Right.
Well, I mean, both of the last two Emery Leighton matches were face versus face, and I just played them off as these two are both competitive and want to win this match. And
That's
so
fine.
just build it that way. It doesn't need to be, you don't need to designate a heel.
I agree.
You can
Absolutely,
just
yeah.
sit there and be like, both these guys have a will to win, and just have them twatting the shit out of each other as much as they want.
You don't want to go back on the character itself. Like you don't want to have a character.
No, absolutely not. It's just so long as they're true to the character, and as long as they have that will to win throughout the match. Because at the end of the day, it's like, my feeling is once, if you're writing it, once the bell rings, if you are looking at both of these characters, they are in a match. Why would they want to lose? Even if it's face versus face, they're like, right, I'm not going home with loser tonight. I'm totally not. So you just play it off as competitive.
Yeah, that's my favorite type of match to write, actually, is face versus face.
Mm-hmm. It's a good match dynamic. It works to me. To me, I think face versus face in terms of the match, writing the match, I think it works better than heel versus heel. But what are your opinions on that, Pedro?
My opinions on face versus face and heel versus heel. I like face versus face better just because it can be a spot fest. While heel versus heel has to be more there has to be more psychology involved. But I think that they can both work if you know how to write each type of match.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If you give me a heel versus heel match and it's like between two different people who are just the most like diabolical people that you could ever find, and they're just like trying to. I remember, I'm not a huge TNA fan, but I remember there was a match a couple of years ago that sticks out to me. That was Bobby Roode versus Austin Aries, I think, and I remember they were both heels at the time, and it was just a full match of it was just like a full match of Bobby Roode, they'd be chain wrestling, and then Bobby Roode would just be like, he just got me in the eye, he just poked me in the eye, and it was like he hadn't at all. And then Austin Aries is like, later on, he's like, he holds his foot, and he's like, he just stood on my foot, and they're just trying to accuse each other of these horrible things, because it's completely, knowing their character history, it's completely and utterly logical that they would try to do that. So they're just trying to
it was a cheat off.
Yeah, exactly. It's a cheat off. If you give that no disqualifications, it gets even better. Oh my god!
One of my favorite feuds that I ever wrote was in GPW, was between two heels, one of which was a crazy religious zealot, and the other one was dominatrix, and it was amazing, and it ended in a street fight.
Was one of them Jerry Matthews?
They in which one of them hit the other one with a morning star. And needless to say, that was kind of the finish of the match. But yeah, that was...
Hey, Adam.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am going to interrupt. I apologize. You said, is there anything wrong, in your opinion, with a heel, like, say, in a championship match, wanting to disqualify themselves for the championship advantage?
Only if you can't think of a better finish.
Okay.
If you are trying to, if it's like the first of a series, maybe. But I'm really, really old fashioned in that I'm of the opinion, if this were real wrestling, because this literally just happened with The Miz and Dean Ambrose, and people were pissed off about it. Where The Miz was he turned to Maurice and he was just quickly hit me right now, and so she hit him in the face.
Right, and that's what I'm thinking about right now.
Yeah, and that was it. And people didn't like it. So I'm really old fashioned in the sense that every match should kind of deliver.
But is that a good heel tactic though?
Yes.
In the right circumstances. I'm not saying every time.
Not every time, but yeah, in the right circumstances, absolutely.
The right circumstances.
That and get the count out. Trying to get yourself counted out.
Or at least attempting to. You don't have to finish the match like that.
No, but trying to get yourself counted out or trying to get yourself disqualified if you're really worried that you'll lose the match and lose the belt. For a heel, yeah, because the heel at the end of the day, I think the one of the big things for them is just walking out of there, with the belt still intact.
Right.
You see, I've actually written a match where it was a championship match. It was a face versus a heel. The heel had the title, but it was a special referee, and it was like another face wrestler who was the special guest referee, and the heel kept trying to get himself disqualified, and the face special guest referee was like, I ain't disqualifying you so you can keep your championship. Fuck that. Get back in the ring.
Yeah.
But not all referees are that noble.
Wait, Pedro wants to weigh in real quick.
I'm going to say that as long as you have a valid reason that makes sense within the character and the story, you can even wrestle with a lead tied behind your back.
Yeah.
And it will make sense. As long as you have a reason. Don't just randomly do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else to say before we wrap up today? Because I'm being told now that we've hit our hour mark, which is kind of as long as I had intended to go today.
Not really, I guess. Obviously, we've covered the basics. I just want to say, obviously, thank you for having me on. But if anybody, I don't want to sort of sit here and be like, I know everything about match writing or whatever. But if I've got experience with it. If anybody needs to know or wants to know anything else, who may be listening to this, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. If you need me to look at a match, if you need me to give you feedback on a match or something like that, I'll happily talk to you on Twitter. And even drop by XWA, and that's not me plugging us. Just drop by XWA, take a look at some of our matches.
We plugged you last show.
Or the thread.
I can recommend that. I've done that myself.
You guys also have that thread with some tips in it, which is a good thread, I think, too. Yeah, and we'll put the link again. We'll put the link again on this one. I don't know if you caught it on the last week, but we slid the link in there to that thread.
Yeah.
And the description.
I do actually have, funnily enough, now you bring that up, I do actually have a link to what I believe are the top 5 best matches in XWA ever, and hopefully you can see exactly what. Hopefully they demonstrate everything that I've kind of said in this. By the way, just in case you're wanting to know, my Twitter handle is AdamIsDJS. That's my out of character one. I've got a million different ones. Obviously, being an e-feder, that's what happens. But I'll slot that link in the chat for you. You can put that on the when you release this, wherever you release this, I will put that there.
It's going to be on YouTube.
Yep. Well, there you go then. You can put it on the description. I'll get that link in a minute. But absolutely. If you want to get in touch with me, if you want me to look at a match, if you want to know how to if you're thinking about putting together some kind of match and you want to put a finish and you're unsure about it, Adam at AdamIsDJS. Follow me. I'll probably follow you back. You can DM me.
If you want, then Adam, I've got a whole folder on Google Drive of matches that I can share to you and make you give you permission to comment on them. So,
fantastic! Yes, do it.
A whole folder of Max Hopper. Yeah. Pedro, any closing remarks?
Remember that hour-long matches are for title belts or really hot blow-offs.
Yes.
Okay, good. Callum, before we go, you've been pretty quiet. Any questions that you've had? Have you had any questions?
Nothing's come to mind. Anything I would have asked has more or less been touched upon, to be honest.
Any final comments from you?
None. No, not really.
Lifer?
He pretty much covered everything. I think the show was really good. Yeah.
It seems like there was something that I had wanted to bring up last time, and I can never, like I keep forgetting what it is, and then I remember, and then I forget what it is, and I remember, but I'm sure we've probably talked about it. Adrien, any final
I do
comments?
have something to add real quick before we go to. There was something that we had discussed prior to us starting to record, and I feel like it never did come up again. What is your opinion on disqualification finishes in competitive RP feds? Because it seems like they're a lot easier to do for angle feds than it would be for people who are like, oh, I wrote this match. I mean, I wrote all these really good RPs, and my match ended up with a disqualification.
For a title match?
Sometimes for title matches, sometimes not. Like let's say you were facing Mike and it was a competitive RP fed, and you felt like you outwrote him, and they gave you a win by disqualification.
Well, to me, I mean, it depends on. Now, I mean, there's a lot that it's going to depend on. So, okay, first of all, if we're taking the title belt out of it, that's gonna alter things a bit. But I mean, we're kind of getting a little bit more into booking here, honestly. I think, other than match writing. But if Lifer and I are having a feud and it's in the middle of the story arc, and we have a match, and I out role play him and I win by disqualification, and there's no belts on the line or whatever, then that's one thing, and to me that's fine. If it's for a title and I out role play him and I win by disqualification and don't get the belt, I'm gonna feel kind of screwed, to be perfectly honest. Why make it at that point, why did you have the title match and then I didn't even have a chance? And it depends. I guess it kind of depends too on like how badly I role played him. Well, I mean, if it's like absolutely 100% clear, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that I've outdone him, then I mean, say like Lifer no shows or something, and he's defending his belt, and I win by DQ and don't get the belt, I'm gonna be kind of salty about it. I mean, I'm not going to go on a big tirade, but I might be kind of I might feel salty about it.
I wouldn't blame you, to be honest.
Well, this is something I actually have some experience with, because I was in my old Fed UWF. I was in a title match, and it was competitive. It was on the micro brand, and so just threw up a little 750 word piece and all that, and I'd already announced that I was to the Fed head that I was walking away in about 2 months' time. So I'd been judged to win the match, and the guy said, "What do you want me to do here? Do you want me to give you the belt, or do you want me to just find a workaround?" So I just said, "Nah, just make it a DQ finish or whatever, or have him win clean. I don't really mind." Like, I think it really does depend on the case by case. I think if you're a Fed head in that position, you should really speak to the people that are involved. Yeah.
Well, and two, that's kind of a special case if you said that well, this is probably gonna be my last match here. Yeah. So I mean, if you're like, this is gonna be my last match here, regardless, don't put the belt on me.
Yeah, well, it was far from the last match, but it was. I'd sort of said, "I've got 2 months left here. Don't bother."
But I mean, I don't mind losing one in the middle of the thing. In the middle of the story arc by DQ, especially if it's against my feud partner. But even if it's not against my feud partner, if there's no belt on the line, I don't mind, or I should say winning one by DQ, or even losing one by DQ, the old, like one of the old dusty finish disqualifications, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe my opponent introduced a foreign object and the referee was down, and then, my guy ends up picking it up or something, and then, or not even picking it up, but like the chair's in the ring and the referee gets back up and my opponent flops down and starts, acting like they're hurt, and then the referee calls for the disqualification because he thinks I hit him.
Eddie Guerrero.
Whatever. What was that?
Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, exactly. So, because we all remember when Eddie used to do that. And, I mean, that's one of the things that made him brilliant. But anyway, I'm saying, I don't mind, to win a match by DQ, no belt on the line, and in the middle of a story arc, whether it's my feud partner or not my feud partner. Obviously, I'd rather have it be with my feud partner because I feel like it adds heat to, make you want to see a return bout between these two later on. So I think it makes, more sense either that, Lifer and I are feuding and I beat him by DQ and he waffles me with a chair, or it's going to set up a feud after that, either now or, just pretty soon after. But, but if it's for a belt, honestly, in a competitive roleplay fed, and then, the title's kept away by, disqualification or a intentional count out, I would feel kind of salty about it.
All right. Let's go ahead and have everyone else.
Wait.
Well, go ahead, Pedro.
Pedro?
I was just going to say that I do agree that in the title situation, you probably don't want to do that unless you're an angle fed. But otherwise, don't be afraid of DQs. Like, you're not cheapening your handler's efforts. If it's like a big heel who's like undefeated but he's about to lose, I'm not going to pin them clean.
Yeah, what Pedro said. Adam?
I would say it's up to the Fed head to kind of decide what you do with that. But it depends on the story. It depends on whether they were if they were a heel. As I said before, I'm pretty old-fashioned. I feel like heels should kind of get comeuppance at the end if they're about to leave. Like, especially if they're about to leave. That's what they used to do in the territories, for God's sake. But it's I guess it's one of those things. It depends on what kind of story has already been going on for me.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense.
and the follow up after.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, if there's no aftermath, and the person who's gone off is never mentioned again, and all of that, then fuck that. But
because wrestling is every bit as much about what happens after as it is about what happens before.
Yeah, don't be afraid of continuity.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, we should have talked about squash matches for no shows, but I guess we're now out of time for that.
I took care of that last show.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
We did. Callum? Did Callum weigh? No, Callum did weigh in on that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Lifer, do you want to weigh in?
I did.
Okay, Adrien?
I was going to say, everyone go ahead and drop your Twitter handles real quick. I know Adam did, but no one else did.
I was just going to go ahead and run through everybody's at the end myself, but just so that we're not. So, everyone, you can follow Adrien at the Dropkick King on Twitter. You can follow Lifer. Lifer, do you want a character account or OOC?
Character account.
Okay, you can follow him at Devil May Cass. On Twitter, you can follow Callum at Kennedy Must Die. You can find...
Yeah.
I see that every day, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? You can find Adam at Adam is DJS on Twitter, and you can find Pedro at UK Wrestling Fed. Is it, or is it UKWF eFed?
UK Wrestling Fed is the Twitter.
Okay. Didn't you used to have...
No, that's the forum address.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought that you had one that was UKWF eFed or something like that, too, the Twitter.
No, that's the address of the board. So,
Okay.
yeah, plug. UKWFefed.proboards.com.
You could
Okay.
also get Heather, who was on earlier today. Let me get her Twitter handle real quick. Hers is Shade Style. Betsy is one of her characters right there. You can get a hold of her from that as well.
Okay, sounds good. So that's our panel. I want to thank everybody for joining us today and for sharing your insights. For Adrien Cochran, Mike Lifer, Callum Barnum Bailey, Adam Garvey Nutty, Naughty.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
Well,
Well, this took an awkward turn.
I've heard that.
And for
Naughty.
I
DJS. Sod it.
for
DJS.
DJS and for Pedro, this is El Gringo Loco. Thanks for listening, everybody. Hope that you found this helpful, and tune in again next time.